The Socceroos have completed their second friendly window on the path towards the 2026 World Cup in North America. That was the site of these games as well against Canada and the US. Jacob and Christian, a win against the Canadians, a loss against the US. But we are here, as we will be after every Socceroos window, to put the players on the plane, the squad that we think will be going to the World Cup, a kind of rolling tier list that we've got here. Jacob, it was an interesting window, obviously up and down results, and we can't forget the impact of the coefficient as well on our FIFA World Ranking and the impact of getting into the second pot.
Yep.
From an individual perspective, lots of different players making their case for selection in this window.
Yeah, a couple that have made some really strong cases, and a few to add to this list as well that obviously weren't in the last squad window that we talked about. So, plenty to get onto. But look, I think, we've obviously spoken about the results and what they kind of mean, and, maybe let's not read too much into losing to the US, and stuff like that. It is obviously still a little bit disappointing, but yeah, I think from, looking at those individuals and who's making a claim and who should be going and who shouldn't be, I think we got some pretty good ideas, I think, in terms of who might be looking at a spot on the plane heading into the World Cup.
So one of our rules, Christian, in this series as we go through is that for at least the windows in 2025, as a group, we're going to select one person from each window to chuck on the plane. And of course, when we put someone on the plane, we can't bring them off. They're there for good. But you and I also use some personal selections in the previous window. We put Geordie Boss and Nestor Irankunda on the plane. I think it's safe to say after their performances in this window as well,
Yeah.
we're feeling pretty comfortable about those selections.
Yeah, I think if they don't get on the plane, it's got to do more with form, right? Because what they've showed over the past couple of windows, in particular Irankunda with another goal against Canada, I mean, he's really asserted himself into someone who Popovic can rely on more and more on. And that was probably one of the question marks of Popovic, where, in recent times he didn't pick Irankunda in some of the squads, and people were up in arms saying, how can you not pick him? He's arguably the most talented player in the Socceroos setup. But I think for Popovic, he's waited until Irankunda's matured a bit more. And you've seen that even at his time at Watford. So, look, you'd think he should be on the plane, but again, you don't really know what's going to happen in the next few months, right? That's sort of the suspense of it all. But Geordie Boss as well, like we spoke about it last week, Lachie, with the post game after the US game, and probably aside from Irankunda, has to be there as the top player for the Socceroos, for Popovic. So yeah, if I were me and you, we'd be pretty comfortable with our pick. So the pressure's on Jacob, I think.
Yeah. I think I even went as far to say that Geordie Boss is the best Aussie footballer at the moment, Aussie men's footballer.
You did, yeah, you said that.
Yeah, you did.
Which is fair enough.
There we go. I'm just really doubling down on the pick. It's going to look really bad if it doesn't pull off, but I think we all have pretty good faith in Geordie Boss. Let's get stuck into it. What we're going to do is we're going to start with the 7 fresh names you can see on the bottom of your screen. These are players that were included in this squad, but not the previous one in the Soccer Ashes series. So Alexander Robertson is who we're going to kick off with. It was a very surprise inclusion for a lot of people, Jacob, but didn't see minutes. I don't even believe, did he see a matchday squad? I'm not sure. I think he definitely missed out on one of them.
He missed out the first one, I think. Yeah.
There you go. Definitely in that category of Papa just wants to see him in training. So can we make a case for anything more than just on the radar?
But I doubt it. I think, obviously it's great that there's been a lot of discussion, obviously, about international allegiance and who's he going to pick. So I think it's also kind of a bit of a long play for Popper to get him into the system and integrated a little bit moving forwards. But I just think, the lack of minutes for him in this squad, coming into a midfield as well, where there's a lot of really good options already. You kind of have to really step up to make a claim to take one of those spots. And I just don't think that he's necessarily been able to do that ahead of the others that are in those positions. So look, I think it would be a little ambitious to put him as anything other than he's on the radar for the team, but I doubt he's a serious consideration unless he starts to get some more minutes.
I would have had Smokey.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Give us your logic.
He's one of those players who, again, if he has a very good season, then I think he's one of those types of players who Popovic will have no choice but to pick, right? Given the depth as well. He's a talented player, right? Like you can't look past that. I think Smokey for me would be about right, but
It's crazy.
I don't know.
But is he at the level of those guys we've got in Smokey, where it's like your Ryan Teagues or your Adrian Segacic, right? Who's, himself having actually a really good season. Like it just, yeah, I don't know. And they've got minutes for the Socceroos, whereas Robertson hasn't. Like, I don't know. That's
the other argument with Robertson is he is coming into this window off a big injury, right? So there was fitness concerns there as well. So maybe the fact that he didn't get minutes, there's so much guessing here, right? But the fact that he didn't get minutes is also not necessarily... It'd be different if he was fully fit and playing regularly and he came in and didn't get minutes. And maybe having the yardstick and then going away, and maybe if he does get minutes at Cardiff, then he does really become like in that Smoky category. I don't know. I guess an interesting comparison would be Segacic, right? How do you guys feel about Segacic? We can jump around a little bit. Like, are we downgrading him to on the radar?
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to get into Popper's head here a little bit. It's a tough one.
I'd keep him at Smoky.
Okay, well then that makes me lean towards wanting to put Robertson in Smoky as well.
Really? Okay.
Given the raw talent we've seen at that level is pretty similar to what Segacic has done.
It's true. But
there'll always be one or two surprise selections at the World Cup. There'll always be one or two surprise selections where you think, that sort of came out of nowhere. Like, I didn't expect him to make it. Like, we talk about, they have to play minutes for the Socceroos, but it can even be a case of he'd be playing, I don't know, maybe one or two games beforehand, and he's on the plane, right? It can be that sort of, quick sharp. So it's...
How much did Daniel Arzani play before 2018 and Garan Quola before Qatar? Like, had they
debut? Much.
Yeah, Quola hadn't even. I don't think he'd even started a match.
Yeah,
for the Mariners even. Like, I think he was.
All right, Christian, I'm going to lean towards your side. I'm gonna let you have it. We're going to have him as a Smoky for now. We can move it up and down, of course. Good point. Cam Devlin. Next up,
I don't really
feels like a similar situation. Like coming in, lots of midfielders, got to try and make a name for yourself.
On the radar, because if you're looking in a Smoky, you're looking at the people who have like genuine potential to seriously kick on.
Yeah,
but like Cam Devlin, if he's already a starting midfielder in currently the best team in Scotland in Hearts, sitting top of the Scottish Premiership. Like, and what else can he really do? Yeah. It's tough for him in such a short time frame. So I think we're happy with that, and we have a lot of players to get through. Daniel Arzani.
I say long list. All five of them. To be honest, I think he's long there list. Or thereabouts. I genuinely think so. I think, okay, yes, he's not getting minutes with Ferencváros in Hungary, and has expressed his intent at potentially making a move in January because it's not worked out for him, which is a bit of a shame to see. I think it was Marco Monteverdo wrote about it a few weeks ago, where it's like, he's like, look, it's obviously not a great situation for me to not be getting minutes. So if something opens up in January, then, I'd be silly not to, kind of pursue it. So, he's not getting minutes in clubland, but Popovic loves him. That's number one. I think he's also that kind of player that can be such an asset for you in an international tournament. Kind of just playmaker, just an attacking threat, and he seems to be one of those players that Popovic keeps coming back to as well, which is why I'm saying long list. Like, he's there to be chosen, I think.
Originally I had him at long list. Even, like, I'm so tempted to say good chance just because I know it's very likely Popovic will pick him. That's the thing as well. I'm trying to think. I
thought I was being generous by like thinking maybe he could be a Smoky.
I just feel like he's like old reliable, right? It's like we need an attacking kind of midfield winger player. All right, we got Daniel Arzani. Let's bring him out. Like, I think
he's past the Smoky stage. I think he's either probably long list is probably fair. Is fair enough. How many windows has he been a part of? He's been part of a few, right? On the Popovic.
I know, but not since his move. And he's like, this is another one of those experimental picks. Look, I'll let you have it because it's 2-1, so you can have him on the long list.
It's not like we're putting him on the plane, Lachie. Like,
no, we're not. I know, but like until he gets a move, I don't even think he'd be considered seriously.
If Aaron Kunda wasn't, if he didn't exist, if he wasn't part of the squad, I think you'd move Arzani up to good chance because you need that X factor, right? Even if he's not playing minutes, you need someone like that to to spark a game, to open the game up. You've got Kunda, so I think Popovic obviously has that card. So Azani's chances are probably dealt a bit of a blow there. But again, it depends if he's able to get a move in January or if the situation in his club now changes. But he's still been in quite a few Socceroos squads in the past. So, and again, Popovic likes him. So I think if you put him anything lower than long list, then for me it doesn't make much sense.
All right, fair enough. Jason Guerrier is, for me, another one to put on that long list.
Yeah.
I think the fact that he's not playing regularly in Japan, I don't think you can consider him a good chance just yet. And the fact that the game he did play against the US, I think one of the things we said we learned from that game is that, unfortunately for him personally, I think the back three with Dejanek in the middle instead and Chakati outright was probably the preferable situation. And we've still got Harry Sutar to come back as well. So I have him on the long list currently.
No complaints there.
Yeah, I mean, he was like obviously kind of favoured in those early windows under Popovic in that back three. It was starting that game against China in Adelaide and a couple of other games in those early windows. But yeah, I think that just like the strength of the defenders that both are already, fit and firing and playing, but also that are going to be coming back, like a Harry Suter, I think it just kind of knocks him down the list a little bit, where, he's not going to be able to, I think, kind of earn that starting spot because you're just going to be, there's just better options, right? So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. And then Jacob Italiano called up late to the squad, made an impression in training, took his moment, started both games. How much, Christian, are you reading into the fact that he did start 2 games? Because Popovic is clearly in this very experimental mindset. It's hard to say if someone is a first team choice or they're just trying to get a look at him.
Yeah. I mean, I thought he played quite solid for both those games. And the fact that he started both, that shows to me, albeit it might be obviously a bit of experimentation and trying to get a feel for a couple of new players, I thought he did a pretty decent job, both offensively and defensively. He's one of those reliable assets you can probably bring off the bench if you need someone. I don't see him as a starter because I think Lewis Miller on that side is still the number one option. But probably, I'm just trying to think, the long list, is that a far stretch?
No, I don't think so. Like, I think it's, Lewis Miller is clearly the number one for that right wing back role. But then it's, right, who comes in after him, right? Who's the depth behind him? And, I mean, Chikati kind of can maybe do that role.
Don't get Christian started.
And then Italiano is the other option. So, yeah, I feel like, a long list isn't too crazy a shout for him.
Yeah, I think he's the number 2, which, if you're number 2 in a position, it gets you in the World Cup squad, right, at the moment. So I think that's fair. Mitchell Duke came on in the back end, switched to the 4-4-2, caused some menacing...
You might hate me for this. I'm going to say good chance.
I'm with you again, Jacob. I'm with you again. Yeah, I agree. He's a good chance.
I just feel like it's like... Part of the problem is the Mitch Duke fatigue that we all get, right? Where it's like he's just always there, and it's like we just kind of everyone just wants to stop talking about Mitch Duke, but he is always there. He's a different option and profile at striker, which I think at times can be really helpful. I talked about maybe he could have been an impact in the Canada game in particular, to just kind of hold the ball up, but then obviously turned out that the Canada press wasn't too much of a problem for Australia anyway. So, but yeah, I just feel like that kind of different profile, that experience. There's a very young squad for the most part, so having guys who've kind of been in and around it for a little while is always a helpful thing to have. But it's also right. Okay, let's say it's Mo Toure. It's currently like the number 1 striker for the Socceroos. Who else is there that's available to play striker for the Socceroos and do a good job of it? And it's Mitch Duke. So I think it would be silly not to have him there.
I think it's fair enough to put him there now, but I anticipate him falling down quickly.
Yes, yeah. I think if he doesn't perform, and yeah.
All right, and then the other striking option, of course, which we did see start the US game, Nick D'Agostino, a very wild card call up as well.
Yeah.
Look, I wasn't overly impressed. He has done good things in a Socceroos shirt before. I can't personally, especially knowing the striker talent that we have potentially to come up in the next window.
Yeah.
With some of these A-League players back, I can't convince myself to put daggers any higher than on the radar.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the radar.
It's just kind of out of left field. Let's just pick this guy and see what he can do. I don't think he's even playing much for his club, right? Like, I think that's kind of
Not overly.
He's had limited minutes and stuff there. So, yeah, there's not a lot going in his favour.
All right, so now we have to move around the players that were already on the board. We're going to go from bottom to top and move players around, and we can all kind of pitch little names and faces that we see here in the different rows. And, of course, we do have to find someone to put on the plane as well. But starting with on the radar, that kind of bottom row. So we've got a lot of players here that were picked in the New Zealand Ashes squad, but then weren't returned for this one as well. So the likes of a Noah Botic, Anthony Kalic, Hayden Matthews was picked, but Tom Glover, he fell out, obviously, with Matty Ryan coming back. Are there any pitches to bump these players up the list?
Only one I could make a case for is Botic, because he's performing well in clubland at the moment.
He is. Got a brace, right?
Yeah, he got a brace the other day. I think he scored again a couple of weeks back as well. So he started off well in Austria, but he's probably the only one of that group that I could say would be able to kind of move up into that smoky range, just because he's performing so well for his club.
Even Gauchi? Still...
Because I was literally thinking that you think like the third choice goalkeeper, it's like what, Izzo for the meantime, number 2, or Matt Ryan. You can probably swap those around, whatever the case may be. Popovic, what he wants to do. But number 3, but you put Gauchi up as a smoky. Is he really a smoky? Like, it'd have to be maybe long list for a third choice goalkeeper.
Yeah.
If you want to move him up.
I don't know. I'm torn.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I don't mind your shout on Botic. I think he definitely would fit the criteria for a smoky. Are we happy with that?
Especially because like this next window coming up, I feel like is going to be the one, right? Like where we're going to see the return of some A-League players, and I think that as well, Botic is a good shout to get a call up. So
all right, if we can't convince ourselves for Gauchi, then maybe let's just leave him there.
Yeah.
The smoky tier. Another couple of players, Milanovic, Segacic didn't get called up again. Could they get downgraded?
I mean, I think we made the call on Segacic, right? That like him and Robertson, whatever we do with one, we've kind of got to do with the other. So and we put Robertson in at smoky, so I think it's safe to keep Segacic there. But Milanovic is an interesting one. I don't know. I haven't been keeping tabs on him at Aberdeen. But I also haven't seen anything, so I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. If it's just like he's not performing, not getting minutes, or if I've just completely missed some good performances from him. But
on and off. So since the New Zealand window, he started one game against Dundee and then came off the bench, and other times he's been an unused substitute.
That might hurt him a little.
Might downgrade him, eh?
Yeah.
That's
it's
on the
not great
radar.
for him.
Radar.
Yeah. Because, you're thinking about like why he got into the Socceroos squad, and it's like really strong performances to end the season, winning the Johnny Warren medalist, getting that big move to Scotland. And then since then it's been, he's not actually really played that much. So, yeah.
He got a goal or two early, didn't he?
I think he did, like round 1, round 2, something like that. Was in and amongst it, but
yeah, maybe in the Cup of the Europa League or something like that. But yeah. All right, Milanovic down. Now, I think the clear standout name in this list for someone to go up has to be Max Ballard. Starting both games in midfield and looked like didn't do anything spectacular, but was just a really solid midfield player. And in this system, you're not really supposed to be anything really special in that kind of midfield too. So I think definitely a promotion at least to the long list for Ballard.
Yeah, I agree. And you see the dirty work he does off the ball, the things you don't see from a viewer, but Popovic definitely sees that, both on the training pitch and those both games he started. Definitely, I think should deserves to be on the long list. But probably it might be a couple of windows down the line where we even bump him up to good chance. It depends on, if he's able to keep up that momentum for both club and country. Popovic keeps calling him up because we've been harping on about it that he should be in the side for multiple windows now. He's a good chance.
I agree. Yeah.
All right, the long list, which ironically is turning out to be a very long list. It's our biggest category that we've got. There's probably a few names in here that you can pitch to have some movement.
Well, one I'd say is Mohamed Toure.
Absolutely.
I'd say move him up. We put Mitch Dukin as a good chance. I think Mo Toure is as well. I think he's...
How far?
I mean, can you make the case he is the best number 9 for the Socceroos at this point in time?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
at this point in time.
Yes, exactly. That's why I'm reluctant to put him on the plane right now, because what's going to happen in the next window? He's going to be the one that comes in and challenges.
I don't know
for
if
that.
you saw, but there were rumors that I think Chelsea were monitoring him as well.
I did see that,
after some of his recent performances. God, could you imagine if you got to move like somewhere like there in January and then didn't play for 6 months and then didn't have any credit to get called up?
Awful. I think he's definitely got to move up, and I'd be open to putting him on the plane, but I just don't know. Is it too early to make that call with him?
Feels slightly too early. Maybe
Too
slightly
early.
too early.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll leave him a good chance. Any other pitches? Long list. So we got Kai Rouse, Sammy Silvera. I think probably could go down because he is one of those players that would be a right wing back option. And I think with Italiano's success in this window, I reckon you got to bring Silvera down to Smokey.
Yeah, based on that criteria, I think
that's fair enough.
That makes sense, yeah.
And then someone else who I think should go up is Milos Degenek.
Ooh, okay.
Now, I don't think you can put him on the plane because there is still the Harry Sutar factor to consider. But as we made the point about Guerrier, right, is that we're going to prefer Degenek in the middle with Jakardi out wide to Guerrier being the right back, the right centre back. At this point in time, I reckon it means that Degenek becomes then a good chance to be part of the World Cup squad.
I think
and
there's
his
also
leadership as well.
Yeah, and there's no guarantee that Sutar comes back and is the same kind of player, right? Like, it's
I don't hate it.
Kind of feels weird, but yeah, I think it's a decent logic that you've put there,
Decent
Lachie,
logic.
All right, let's do it.
All right, Degenek up into good chance. The other three players for consideration then, Kai Rouse, Patrick Yazbek, and Aiden Rustic.
I think that's about right for them, to be honest. Happy
to leave that there.
Yeah, like your second choice left wing back is the same tier as your second choice right wing back. Let's keep them there.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
And Rustic seems to be that kind of second tier 10 position as well.
Yeah.
I think when we look at, again, A-League, if Aziz Beige is coming into the fold, then maybe that's going to knock Kai Rouse down as well. But we can deal with that in December, can't we?
We can't touch the long list too much, otherwise it will become the short list. Make sure the balance is right.
True. We got to keep it long. You're not wrong. All right. The good chance section. This is where it gets really interesting.
This is where it gets interesting.
Our passport security is looking at this list because there's a few names knocking on the door trying to get through. Do we have any claims? Because we have to send someone up.
There's one I really want to use my passport on before we agree on as a group, which is Paul Izzo. I think his performances for the Socceroos have completely justified that. I mean, we're talking about, like, at this point you could interchange him or Matt Ryan as the starting goalkeeper, which I think says just about everything you need to know. He's been absolutely fantastic for Australia, so I would be incredibly surprised if he was not on the plane. So I'm willing to use my passport on him and just put him on the plane right now.
I like it. Yep. We'll let you have it as your personal one. And I think the fact that he came out, he had, I think it was 8 saves in the Canada game, which was the most saves on record for a men's Australian goalkeeper in an international fixture. And there's now, like, especially after Ryan, maybe not the most amazing performance against the US, there is genuine conversation as to who should be the number one outright for the Socceroos, which I don't think, apart from a couple of like optimistic Joe Gauchi shouts, has really been the case for a little while.
Yeah.
Yep, agree. Just trying to think of any other players who I'd bump up.
There is one that I think we might be able to agree on, which is...
I have two thoughts.
The one I'm thinking is Lewis Miller.
Really?
Yeah.
After this window, to put him on the plane.
I just think he's clearly the best
to be
option.
fair, we just said that he's the number one option in that position on the right. So
we did.
Yeah.
But it's also a case of who is going to be coming up in that right wing back position that is going to be better than him in the next few windows. I don't see
Italiano. It could be Italiano.
Yeah, maybe, I guess.
So my pitches as well. I think the other names, Cam Burgess, I think having a poor game against the US, I'm not putting him forward. Sorry, I'm just going through the line of names. I think Martin Boyle, similar kind of scenario. He hasn't done anything in this window to really bang down the door. My two pitches would be Aidan O'Neill or Connor Metcalf. I'd probably be leaning slightly towards O'Neill, but he's been a consistent pick for Popovic in that midfield now, playing regularly in the MLS. And Connor Metcalf had some very good moments, particularly in the Canada game as well. Who was it that was saying, like, I think it was Mo Toure, he's like, oh yeah, Connor's a wizard. Like, he just always finds me with the passes or something like that. So I think one of those three names, Miller, O'Neill or Metcalf, I think we should put on the plane.
I don't hate the O'Neill shout. I mean, in the past, it's been him and Irvine as kind of that starting midfield pair. And, you know, he's kind of still kept that spot, even with Irvine out. And he's still been perfectly fine and, you know, arguably one of the better players on the pitch for Australia at times. So, yeah, I think if we're going to go between especially O'Neill and Metcalf, then I'd lean towards O'Neill. But I think Metcalf's, that what he adds to the team maybe is a little bit more impactful. I don't know.
Neither of them convinced me. I would have went Miller, to be honest. I'm throwing a spanner in the works, but I can't see how Miller doesn't get on the plane. As at this point, those three players, I think you choose Miller as the most reliable for me anyway. But do
you want to throw Mo Toure back in the mix now that we're having this conversation? As the most likely of any of these guys?
Most likely, yeah.
Because we have to put someone. You got into Izzo too quick.
I got into Izzo too quick. Yeah, well, I did that because I was pretty assured of him that I wouldn't lose and look like an idiot. Whereas with, his pick, there's a few kind of maybes. Oh, yeah, that's tough.
It's really tough.
I think maybe do we not pick one of the midfielders just because we've had this discussion already about there being a lot of midfielders that, you know, they could come in and maybe make a claim. You know, we've still got, you know, like Ryan Teague in there as a smoky.
Is it possible for Aidan O'Neill to fall outside of the top four, though? Top four central midfielders. You got Irvine, Ballard, O'Neill, Yazbek. Like, who else is knocking on the Ryan Teague? But he's not playing regularly.
Is McGree ever a chance of coming back?
But even then, would he just play as a 10?
Would he just play as the 10? Yeah, that's true.
But I think that's your answer right there, though. You've got options, right? Whereas Lewis Miller, for instance, you've got Italiano, who, yes, is playing well, but who else besides him can you really see competing for that position? You've got Toure there.
Silvera,
how many nines do we have there? How many number nines do we have to pick from as two? Even though Toure, as of this moment, I'd pick him to start in that position, things can change. For me, Miller, I don't see too much changing. That's why I'd have him.
That's exactly the reasoning I gave as well. Like, I just don't see anybody who's like on the verge. Like, Italiano is there, but I think that even if Italiano does well, Miller will still be on the plane.
Because he couldn't be the number 3.
Yeah, exactly. There's like, because it's Silvera is the number 3 at the moment, and he is quite a ways off the other two. So, just, yeah.
All right. I just don't think I love it because you like... Obviously, this was Italiano's window. This wasn't the Lewis Miller window.
Yeah.
Well, we're making it the Lewis Miller window, all right? It's the Miller window.
But the fact that Italiano's come in so strongly and clearly has absolutely cleared Silvera as that other option, I think is what makes it clear that Miller will be on the plane because he won't go down that far to be the number 3.
What's Fran Karacic's regular position? Where does he actually play?
I think he plays as a right back in a back 4. So I don't know whether that would mean kind of that right centre back in the back 3, or if he would play as the wing back.
So Flash Score has him as a right wing back in a back 5.
Okay.
Well, there you obviously, go. Like then withdrawing from injury the last 2 windows doesn't help his chances either. So maybe at a stretch, but all right, I'm going to let you have Lewis Miller. We're making it the Lewis Miller window. We're putting him on the plane. Congratulations, Lewis. We'll see you in North America 2026. There you go. Our list is kind of up to, what have we got? 7 names, 7 of the 23 we've locked in. Do you want to bump any of these down? We never got to that as well from the kind of good chance list. I guess Burgess or Boyle would be the only 2 candidates if you wanted to.
But even then, I still think that's just, I think that would be a bit harsh.
I think so too. I think Boyle definitely more than Burgess.
Yeah.
Potentially to move down just because so many of those young attacking players I think, are potentially going to pinch his spot. But I think Burgess, I think we're going to put Burgess on the plane in the next couple of episodes. He's going to have one good window.
For sure.
And then we're going to put him on because he's got that left centre back position pretty much wrapped up, I think.
Yeah.
Despite a poor game against the US. But there you go. I think that's our list for the second episode of this Rolling Socceroos World Cup Squad Predictor series after the games against the US and Canada. Christian, you happy with where we are so far, 2 windows in?
Yeah, I think us three should be all confident with our on the plane picks. Who is it? Aaron Kunda, Izzo, and Geordie Boss. I like it, and I think there's an even balance, right? You see those 5 tiers. I think we've struck a good chord. So obviously a lot to play out. Obviously the next international window being next month, and then got a few next year as well, leading into the World Cup. So still a lot to play out, but yeah, I'm liking how we've sort of set this up so far.
Yeah, so Jacob, we don't even really know who we're playing yet. There are some rumours of Argentina and the likes, but we have no idea that Football Australia haven't confirmed those fixtures. But what we do think is going to happen, according to some of Tony Popovic's press conferences, is that this is going to be the A-League window. It's going to be the chance for those players who have put their hand up in the first month of the competition to go in and get that yardstick assessment that a lot of the players kind of towards the bottom of our list here have received in the last 2 windows. So we can expect a lot more fresh names as well to put onto this list next month.
Yeah, and a couple of potentially returning names too, with guys like Aziz Bayic and Craig Goodwin. So, with some minutes in their legs, they might be up for selection. So yeah, we're going to see some more players coming through. Some who probably might even just burst onto the scene this A-League season, right? And suddenly they're a case to get a selection. So yeah, it's going to be exciting to see who we play and then who's in the squad as well. So.
Any wild tips just for like non-obvious, like complete breakout stars in the A-League that haven't really had a sniff of the Socceroos yet to get called up? I know a lot of people, well, maybe not a lot of people, but some soft whispers of the likes of an Ethan Alagic after just maybe one game is early. I know
he's had one good game.
When we're talking about complete bolters, like that's the kind of player we're looking at, right?
I've got one player in mind after watching the victory in Auckland game. It's Joshua and Sarah, right back, 20-year-old. I thought he was very, very good. And we've talked about the lack of options in that position. I know obviously he hasn't been called up before, but if he has a really good season, we see Popovic isn't scared to call up someone like that, right? Despite his age, despite his inexperience. It's just whether he sort of gets on the plane is probably another question in itself. But I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he's experimented for a couple of windows. But I was really impressed with him against Auckland. His maturity for someone so young. He's got that real IQ about him as well, where he knows how to position himself. Really smart footballer. So yeah, he's been my really big smoky.
Really big smoky. I like it. All right, that'll do for this episode. Appreciate you all tuning in. And don't forget to tune into the podcast during the weeks as well to keep up to date on the A-Leagues and Socceroos as we move towards the 26 World Cup. We'll see you next time.